Hi boys and girls. Today in social studies we're going to be learning a new skill and it's called how to use a map grid. Now when you think of a map, what do you think of? When I think of a map, I think of directions, how I'm going to get from one place to another. Now when I was your age, in third grade, I remember my parents getting out these huge books, and these books were maps. They were paper maps. Now, people don't really use paper maps anymore. What they use is their navigation system, maybe in their car or on their phone. That's how they use maps or find their directions on where they need to go today. But I still think it's very important that you learn how to look at a paper map and you're able to find directions. So today we're going to use what's called a grid map. So let me pull this down and I'm going to show you what you need to do is you need to get out your social studies book and turn to page 48. So please get out your social studies book, pause the video, and turn to page 48. So this is a map grid, okay? It says to find the exact location of a place, you can use a map that has a grid system. A grid system is a set of lines the same distance apart that cross one another to form boxes. The grid on this page shows rows and columns of boxes. The rows are labeled with letters and the columns are labeled with numbers. Follow these steps to use a map grid. So if you look down here at the bottom, let me zoom out. And you obviously can look at your page because you should be on the same page I am. On the left-hand side, you can see these numbers, okay? And then you see at the top and the bottom, you have numbers. And then again, on the right side, you see these letters. This is a grid system, okay? So how I would find a grid system, if I'm trying to find what box this red box is in, what I would do is I would go put my finger, start at the top, I'd go all the way down to here in D. Okay, and then I would put my finger on 3, and I kind of slide my fingers together. So I know the box is in D3. You always start with the letter on the side, D, and then you would put your number, D3, okay? Now, sometimes it's very difficult to use your fingers that way. So a lot of times I like to always have an extra piece of paper. And I always guide myself, okay? I always guide myself. So here, even though I'm covering up my 3 down there, I know I can then take my finger and go all the way down. I know it's on the 3. So D3, okay? Where else do you think you've seen a grid? Think about that. Maybe not a map grid, but all of you have seen a grid before, and I'm going to show you. Does this look familiar? Yeah, it should. It's a multiplication chart. A multiplication chart uses a grid system. Now, obviously, we're not finding directions on this multiplication chart, but we are using it like we would if we were to use a map grid. Okay, so for instance, let's just try this, okay? And I want to show you how it works again, although I know all of you know how to do it. Let's say I want to do 6 times 6, okay? 6 times 6. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have my trusty piece of paper here, and I'm going to go all the way down to my 6 on my left side, okay? So I know that my answer is somewhere going to be in this row, okay? So 6 times 6. Now I can take my finger, and I can go up to the top. I already have my first factor, 6. I'm going to go to 6 here, and I'm going to go all the way down until I get to my white piece of paper. Well, what is 6 times 6? It's 36. Boys and girls, we just used the grid system. That's what it is, okay? Now, let's go ahead and try another one of these, okay? Let's try 2 times 5. So I'm going to go up here to my 2, because that's the first thing that I said. You always go on the left side first, 2, and then 5. I can take my finger, I go all the way up to the 5, and then I come down. And 2 times 5 is 10, exactly. Again, you're using the grid system. So that's just another way that I know you know what you're doing because you've already used it before. I'm going to show you another way that you've already used the grid system and probably didn't even know you were using the grid system. Okay. How many of you have seen this? A lot of you have probably seen these in your classrooms if your teacher has given them to you. They're mystery pictures. And in order to find out what the mystery picture is, you have to complete the grid, which is this. Now this one has already been started, but I'm just going to show you an example of how to find the grid system. So let's look. For instance, we're going to start right here. If I wanted to do the color LB, which I know is light blue, and I wanted to find D5, I know that I need to go to the box D5 and color that whole thing light blue. Well, I need to use the grid system. So I go over here, D5, and then my D, and I know right here, I'm coloring this box light blue. So you even use the grid system here, making a really cool mystery picture. Okay, let's get back to our maps. So we're going to look at page 49, and we're going to answer some of these questions based on the map that was given to us. Just to review a little bit, does anybody remember what we call this? What do we call this right here in the top left corner? Excuse me. Yeah, we call it a compass rose. A compass rose gives us directions. We have north, east, south, and west. If you look closely at the compass rose, you also see little points in between these capital letters. Does anybody know what we call those? Yeah, they're intermediate directions. So if I see right here, I'm going to put it blue a little bit. Don't you do this on your book. I can do it on mine, but don't do it on yours. In between north and east, I have a direction called northeast, okay? Here you can see another one. If I come here, it would be southeast. This direction, if I travel this direction in between the S and the W, I would say southwest. And who can tell me what this direction would be in between the N and the W? Yeah, it would be northwest. Very good. So that is what we call a compass rose. We also have something else on this map, and it's down at the bottom right-hand corner, and it's called a map key. Everyone say map key. Map key. Okay, the map key is, if you look at it closely, you can see a square that is red. Whenever you see that red square on your map above, it means point of interest. It means that there's a place that's probably an interesting place. It's a point of interest. So anytime you see one of those squares, it's a point of interest. If you look down underneath the square, you can see a straight line with some vertical lines going through it. Whenever you've seen that, that's a light rail train line. So that means it's a train line. A light rail is a train that travels above the city. So a light rail train line. So whenever you see that, if you come over, look at the map. See if you can find the light rail train line. Does anybody find it? Yeah, it's right here. It's right here. Very good. Okay, so we're going to look at these questions down at the bottom. We're just going to practice a few. It says, use the map and its grid system to answer the questions. Give exact locations by using a letter and a number. So let's look at number 1, boys and girls. It says, where is the Contemporary Museum? Where is a Contemporary Museum? Well, I don't know. I have to look at the map. So I want you to find Contemporary Museum. I want you to find this word, Contemporary Museum, up here in this map. See if you can find that word, those words. Very good. It's right here, okay? I found the words Contemporary Museum. I matched them. Even though I can't read sometimes some of these words, all you have to do is match the words, and I matched the words. Now, it wants to know what box it's in, where it's located on the map. I don't go by the words, boys and girls, but if you look, it has one of those square red boxes. That's the place, the point of interest, okay? That's where the Contemporary Museum is. So I have to figure out what box the Contemporary Museum is in. So if I come over here to my map grid, I go all the way down to E, okay? So I know that it's in E. E what? Well, let's look at the bottom. What box is it in? If you see, boys and girls, each box is separated by red thin lines. Now, I know it might be a little bit difficult to see, but if you look closely, you'll be able to figure out where those where those lines begin and end. So very carefully come over and find out where this red square, what block it's in. It's right here in this block. So this block, if I come over, it's E3. It's in the block E3. So my answer would be E, and then I put a little dash, 3, okay? E3. Let's try another one. What point of interest do you see in the box at D5? So it wants us to tell them what point of interest is in D5. Well, I know it's a point of interest because remember from my map key, a point of interest has a square that's filled in red. Okay, so let's look at D5. So I have to come over to my D, and if you need to use, oops, I'm sorry, not sure where I went, but that's okay. If you need to use a piece of paper to help you, go ahead and use the piece of paper to help you, okay? All right. Oh, there I am. Sorry. It's being very touchy. Okay. So here we go. We need to find D5. So I'm just going to go put my paper underneath D, and I need to go to 5. Well, I can even, since I covered at the bottom, remember your numbers are at the top as well. So I'm going to go 5 all the way down. And remember, I'm looking in this entire box. See that thin red line? That's everything that's in the D5 box, okay? So what point of interest do you see in D5? What point of interest do you see in D5? Do you see one of those square red boxes? Yeah, right here, okay? This right here, it says center stage. Center stage. So my answer would be center stage. Okay? Don't write in your book. I'm just writing in it so I can show you, okay? All right, let's find another one. Let's look at number 3. Excuse me. Where is the Maryland General Hospital? Well, I don't know. We need to look at the map to find our map grid to see what box it's in. But let's go ahead and find this, the Maryland General Hospital. Go ahead and find those words in your map. See if you can find those words in your map. I found it right here. Okay? So remember, we don't necessarily go by the words because the words might be bigger, but we go by that little square that's colored in red. Okay, so what box is that in? Okay, where is that located on this map? Well, remember, we always go by the letters on the left-hand side first. We have C, and then if you look at those thin red lines, you can kind of see where it is. It goes right here to 2. So if you said C2, C is right here, and it's in box 2. So my answer, boys and girls, is C2. So you write that with C going first, and then a dash, and then a 2. C2. Very good. Okay, I'm going to give you one more. We're going to do one more. It's not on our book. I'm just going to give it to you. Okay, so you tell me what box would, let's see here, what box would the Spotlights Theater, see if you can find Spotlights Theater. Let me spell it for you. So if you need help matching that word, oh, I'm sorry, Spotlighters Theater. So right here, find this word, Spotlighters Theater. Spotlighters Theater. Excuse me, I'm going to turn on my lights again. They went off on me. My lights went off on me. Okay. Did anybody find where that's at? I want you to see what square it's located in. What box is it located in? What do you think? What do you think? Do you have an answer? Okay, well, I know it's right here. If you picked that it's in C4, you were correct. If you said C4, you are correct. Okay, boys and girls, so you just finished with the lesson on math grids, and you're going to now go ahead and complete the assessment. Before you complete the assessment, I wanted to show you what your assessment is going to look like. Your assessment is going to look like this, okay? And you are going to have options down at the bottom, that you're going to drag and drop to the correct spot. So you're going to use the grid to complete all of these questions. Please make sure you complete this right here. It says what is in block A3, and you complete all of the questions down at the bottom. So there will be a total of 9 choices to drag and drop. So go ahead and complete your assessment. Great job today.